Hello again. So today we're going to talk about the multiplying and dividing radicals. We're going to start with this first rule, multiplication. And the first rule of multiplication is that if you have a setup like this, the nth root of a times the nth root of b, then by multiplication rule is that you can say the nth root of a times b. But in this case, a has to be greater than 0 and b has to be greater than 0 if in this case, if n is even. If it's not even, if it's odd, that really doesn't matter. So let's do some examples. Square root of 2 times square root of 5. That is square root of 2 times 5, and then we can simplify that. That is square root of 10. Another, so this is A. Example B, let's suppose we have a number in front of the radical. This is the mixed radical being multiplied by another mixed radical. Let's suppose minus 2 root 3 times 4 root 2. In this case, first thing that you're going to do, you're going to multiply the numbers outside by each other. So that would be minus 8. Then you're going to use the multiplication law of the radicals. That's 3 times 2. 3 and 2, they were under the radical sign. You're not going to change that. You're just going to multiply them together. And then you're going to write the final answer as minus 8 is outside. 3 times 2 is 6, goes under the radical sign. And that would be your final answer. All right, another example. This one is actually a little bit harder. The reason it is that let's suppose we have two bigger numbers inside the radical. So the two radicands are pretty much bigger. And we could, according to the rule, just do 24 times 18, like in this case, under the radical. And you take out the calculator and then you multiply them and you get an answer. And now the answer will be square root of 24 times 18. 24 multiplied by 18. And that would be 432. All right, so that would be square root of 432. But here's a problem. The problem is that you need to simplify this now. And since it's a big, huge number, you have to go through the factoring. And that makes me a little bit more of a headache than it looks. So the best way to do this is that you actually break up each of these guys separately into a mixed radicals first. Then you just do what we have done, the example of example B, where you just multiply the outside numbers. So square root of 24. We just break it up, change it to a mixed radical. In this case, we can. So that would be square root of 4 times 6. We know that. How about square root of 18? Mixed radical again, but two numbers you multiply, you get 19. One of them has to be perfect square. 9 is, in this case, was 4. Let's change that. That becomes square root of 4 times the square root of 6. And here, we have square root of 9 times the square root of 2. Let's simplify this. This is 2 root 6, and this is 3 root 2. Now, we can multiply them now. Look, very easy. You got the 2, you got the 3. You multiply those two, you get 6. So 6 is outside. And now you multiply the radicals, and that is 6 times 2. Final answer, 6 root 12. And that is how you would do that question without going through this. This is 6 root 2 is actually 6 root 12 is actually the same as square root of 432. Now here's another thing, is that actually the root 12 can also be broken down. I just missed that, but that is true actually. That's not the final answer. I just realized. So how are we going to do that? That's 6 times, that is 4 times 3. Very good. And now the 4 comes out, so that becomes 6 times root 4 times root 3. And in here now we get 6 times 2 times root 3, because root 4 is that, and 12 root 3 is the final answer. Now, I notice that I showed every single steps. Soon we will not do that anymore. You should be able to go from here to here very quickly. In fact, you should be going through that after a few examples. You should be quickly noticing that square root of 12 is 2 root 3, and the more you do that, the faster you get, and then you don't have to show all the work if it's not necessary. All right. So now division is exactly pretty much the same as the multiplication. If you have the nth root of a divided by the nth root of b, that is basically the nth root of a divided by b, where a over b is inside of the radical. And in this case, a couple of things again. The only thing that is different than the multiplication is that b cannot be, well, in this case, a has to be greater than or equal to 0, and b has to be greater than 0 if n is even. All right, let's do a couple of examples. Let's suppose you have square root of 12 divided by square root of 6. Well, that is square root of 12 divided by 6 under the radical sign. And according to the BETMAS, we got to deal with the 12 divided by 6 first. And that is what? That is 2. And then you square root of that, and that would be your final answer. Simple as that. Next one, let's suppose you have 3 root 15 divided by 9 root 18. Let's suppose that's what you have. That's another example. This is example B. Example A. All right. Well, in this case, the first thing you have to do, you have to divide or reduce or simplify the 3 and 9. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 9 twice. So the outside will be 1 over 2. So that's the first thing. So here is what we have, 1 over 2. And then we have root 15 over root 18. And then last step is the 1/2 stays outside, and then this 15 divided by 18 goes under the radical sign. Now, the step in here is important because you still have to simplify that. So let's simplify the inside. 3 goes into both of them. So 3 goes into 15 5 times. 3 goes into 18 6 times. So your final answer will be 1/2 outside, square root of 5 over 6. And 5 over 6 is the radicand. All right. Now I'll let you be. Make sure you do as many practice questions as you can so that you can get a hang of this, so that you can do it as fast as you can. And then we go to the next unit, which is adding and subtracting radicals. Have a good day.